Alright guys, we're just about done with chapter 2. So, comments. We already know what comments are. This slide's going to take about 30 seconds. Used to document parts of the program. They're intended for the people reading the source code. Doesn't do anything to the code. You can insert any kind of comment in the code that you want. Syntax errors, typos, I hate C++, it doesn't work. It'll still compile. What you should do is indicate the purpose of the program. You should describe the variables, and you should explain complex sections of code. And I'm actually going to make those gotta haves. In order to earn full credit for the program, you're going to need a comment block up at the top. And we've already talked about this. That's got your name, date, purpose, description of the program. You know, homework 7, yeah, okay. Homework 7, calculate the gravity on Mars. That's better, you know, that kind of thing. And then add a comment for each variable you declare, except loop counters. You know, if it's just like int I is equal to 0 while I is less than 10, it's just a counter. You don't have to document those. If you wanted to put backslash backslash counter, yeah, that'd be okay. Now, if you declare good variable names, you can kind of get away from doing that, right? If you do this, string in, that's real bad. Name. If you do string name, yeah, that's better. String patient name, that's even better. If you go as far as to do something like that, don't bother commenting it. If you pick a middle ground, go ahead and do patient's name, you know, something like that. This is what's known as self-documenting code. When you write your variable names so good that you don't really need to document them. But consider doing so anyways. It'd just be kind of dumb though, right? Really redundant if you did name of the patient. It'd be like, well, duh, yeah, I know that. So this rule about adding a comment for every variable, not strictly necessary, but lean in that direction. Then, comment sections of code. You have an input section, call it an input section. You have a series of calculations, tell them what you're calculating. Then you have a bunch of print statements describing the results. So for example, our BMI or BMR program or whatever could look like this if we just did some comments. You know, name, whatever, you know, description, and then we had our pound sign includes, and then we had our int main, you know, that kind of stuff, and then we might declare our variables. Int age, int weight, or double, or whatever they're going to be. These should not be in comments, but the comments should follow them, right? Age of the user. Weight of the user in pounds. Something like that. Age of the user in years. Even better. Then you would have an input section. Get input from user. That's real vague. You know, get height, weight, and age from user. Then you have a whole bunch of input statements. You know, C out, blah, 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 C in, blah, 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 C out, blah, blah, C in, blah, blah. And then calculate BMI, BMR, and daily calories from input. Then you have this calculations. BMI equals blah, blah, blah. BMR equals blah, blah, blah. You know, calories is equal to, you know, BMR times whatever. And then display the results. See out, blah, 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 blah. See out, blah, blah, blah. Like that. That would be a pretty well documented program. I'd like to see you hit about that level of documentation. Do you need to document every single line? No, that's way overkill. You know, int main, entry point of program. Pound sign include, you know, string. Imports the string library. You know, we're getting ridiculous there. You don't need to comment every line of your program. Giving a description of the variables, and then think of these like as chapter headings. Get the weight, height, and age. That's a chapter heading. You don't need to add a header for every paragraph in the book or every sentence, just a chapter heading. And then we have a new chapter, calculating the BMI. Then we have all those stuff that does that. And then display the results. One last comment. So, your program should have about this level of comments. I always kind of wonder why we put the date in, because if you modify it, do you always go back and modify the date? No. But if you work, what people used to do, if you worked in teams, was you added comments every time you'd edited something. So say I changed age from pounds to ounces. I put a comment here. September 14, 2017. Changed weight from pounds to ounces. And then our next programmer, Donald Trump, came in. And he changed it in December 25th, 2017. Print a Christmas message. That kind of thing. So you could open up the file and you'd see the entire change list there. Nowadays people use what are known as version control programs. Version control programs make it so that only one person can be editing the code at the same time, and then when you check your code back in, you put a comment in it. And then if you want to look at all the changes of it, you don't look in the source code itself, you look in the version control software. It's kind of different. But you know, comments can have a lot of useful information in it. And there may not be anything wrong with going ahead and adding changes in the form of comments up there at the top. That way when you come back, or if something breaks, you open that file and you see that you know, maybe Mary shouldn't have converted all the ounces to grams, you know, whatever, and you can figure out what went wrong. Otherwise, how do you know? And like I said, a modern version control system will let you open up two files simultaneously and highlight the changes from one and the other. And you go, oh, I see, that code's been added. It'd be nice to give a demo of that. I'm going to think about that. All right. I'm not going to require you to keep change logs in your comments, though. They are ignored by the compiler. Single line comments, you've seen those. Multi-line comments, you start with a slash star, end in a star slash, and they can be 1,000 lines long if you want. If you want, you can use that to comment out code. You can go to a beginning of a section and put star slash. You can go to the end of the section, put slash star, and then all of a sudden all that code is greened out or grayed out or whatever, and it's no longer a part of your program as far as the compiler is concerned. You can, if you want, do a single line comment with a multi-line comment indicator. I recommend against that. There's no reason to do that. You may as well just use slash slash, right? Named constants. If you have a value that is not supposed to change later on in the program, if nothing is supposed to be able to change it once it runs, you put it in as a constant. You declare it as a constant with this word, const. The number of states is 50. The tax rate is 0.675. The speed of light is 3.00 e to the 6 meters per second or something. I'm not sure I got that right. Avogadro's number is 6.022 e to the 23. The conversion ratio between Celsius and Fahrenheit is 1.8. 0 degrees Kelvin is 273 centigrade. I got that reversed. Any of those could be constants. What does a constant mean? It just means it's something that shouldn't change while the program is running. And more importantly, the programmer shouldn't try to change the value. Once you declare something as a constant, like if I go up here and I say const double pi equals 3.14159, then later on I better not try to do anything else with that, right? I better not say, okay, well, pi is actually equal to 4. That'd be ridiculous, because what if later on I did need to calculate the area of the circle again? It would give us the wrong value. So mathematical constants, if we weren't getting them from a math library, you'd want to use the const keyword.
Will it even allow you to change it?
Right, it won't let you. You'll get a compilation error. It enforces it. And you'll see the word constant in a lot of different places, not just in little variable declarations like that as we go further into the language. You're saying that this piece of data can't be changed. And if you write code that could possibly change it, it's going to tell you, no, you can't do that. And that's to help you. It doesn't make the program run better. It's not more secure and hacker-proof or whatever if these things are declared as constants. But you write better code because you're not accidentally changing things that shouldn't be changed. And if you're working on a big project, some huge video game that's got 17,000 million lines of code, then you want to be very careful. The size of the screen that you're displaying on may need to be declared as a constant, the resolution or whatever limits the number of characters that could be displayed on the screen. You declare your constant so that another programmer working on the team won't try to change those values or reuse those variables for a purpose that you don't mean. So those are named constants. You just use the word const there. And for y'all who are also taking Java, guess what? They picked a different word. It's final. I really wish they'd chosen the same word for both languages. Const in this language. People tend to name their constants all in uppercase letters separated by underscores. Why? Because that just leaps right out at you. All in caps, upper score letters, underscores. Oh, that's a constant. I better not try to change it. Of course, you'll figure that out soon enough as soon as you try to compile it. But it just makes them leap out at you. Makes the code easier to read. So, for example, for some reason we have decided that the diameter of our sphere here, or whatever it is, needs to be a constant. I would think it'd be something you'd ask the user for. But const double pi is equal to 3.4159. Const double diameter is equal to 10. Now we're going to hold the circumference. Notice that they put quotes above the variable declaration. I just put / after the variable declaration on the same line and describe the variable. Calculate the circumference. Circumference equals pi times diameter. Display the circumference. And then later on, let's add a line of code that's going to calculate the area. Area is equal to pi r squared. So, pi times pi, no, you don't square the pi. Pi times radius, whatever. And it'll leap out that that's in caps. Am I going to count you off because you didn't declare pi as a constant? No, but I want you to know what it is. Programming style. Let's see what they have to say here. I don't think they say very much. The visual organization of the source code. I have a couple students who just don't like white space in their code. They don't want to put blank lines. That's cool. I don't care. But using blank lines is like putting spaces between chapters. If you can block off sections of code with blank lines, just to visually break them up, then when you're editing the code, or when I'm grading the code, or when you give the code to somebody else to look at or use, then they can read it more easily. Sort of like if you have a single space thesis and there's the paragraphs are not indented and there's no double space between, there's no blank lines between the paragraphs, whatever, you know, it'd be harder to read. It'd be harder to page through and stuff like that if there were no chapter headings in bold. So white space is important, especially indexing, tabbing. Please tab your stuff right. And I know that when we're cutting and pasting and editing and stuff like that, the tabs get off. Please go back in and correct it. And you can try, and it won't always work. Under the edit menu, there's edit, special, format. Sometimes it works. Recent projects. I'm going to pick one of these that I've done in the past. Other development environments are a lot better about the format command actually working. In the Java class I teach, we use NetBeans, which is really good about formatting. But say that you've started messing up your code with your cut and pastes, you know, and everything is just indented completely wrong. Be nice if you could highlight it all, go to Edit, Advanced, Format Selection, or Format Document. Might even work. Did it work? Yeah, it kind of did. I'm impressed. They've improved it a little bit. Some formatting tools are overly aggressive. They'll move all your braces to the line above or something like that. They'll actually change the placement of your braces as well as tabbing them. I don't appreciate those. I put my braces where I want them. All right, we are done with Chapter 2. I want us to go and look at the quiz for Chapter 2. I want us to see if we know everything that's in it already. It's not open yet. Let me go open it. All right, so go to the quizzes section, refresh if you're already there. Click on it. Notice that you have 2 attempts to take the quiz. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this before, but what that means is you can take it and I'll grade it. And then if you want to take it again and get a higher grade once you see what you missed, that's totally cool. Probably get real close to 100 on the second attempt, right? Why do I do that? It's not to test your knowledge so much as it is to prepare you for the exam. It's to burn in the knowledge. I care more about burning in the knowledge than testing, if that makes sense. The exam is a test, right? But the quizzes are burn-in. Quizzes are how you... Oh, neat. I can't take it as in student mode. I can only preview it. I keep forgetting that. If you're ever a web developer and you use frames, frames are kind of old technology, but they give you little sub-windows inside of windows. And that's great, but you can't resize them and you can't post links into them. I couldn't copy something out of here and get the URL and post it to somebody else. So if I want this to be displayed full screen here, it's just a real challenge to do that because it's implemented as a frame. So avoid frames. Of course, nowadays they really are out of favor. That's not going to be a problem. Alrighty, so taking a peek at it. I'm going to see if there's anything that I don't think we know how to do. Go ahead and take this as though this was an exam. We're not going to always do the quizzes in class. But if you get stuck on something, if you don't remember it, See if you can hit the PowerPoint, but then just raise your hand and I'll come help you, okay? Or I'll come up here and I'll give everybody the answer. I don't care. That doesn't mean I want you to go question 1, question 2, question, you know, and work through it like that. So this will actually be the last thing we do today. It's going to be a pretty short class.